It is Monday, the 15th of September, 2025. And in the last 24 hours, again, I've taken the time to look at a lot of old debates and interviews and podcasts that Charlie Kirk had done, and ones that I had never saw before. But just the level of brilliance this guy had, and his faith, especially his faith, which I think was just so honorable. How he tried to live his life um, as a true, genuine, like Christian man. And despite the fact that there's things that I didn't necessarily agree with that he was sharing, I would have loved the opportunity to debate him. Um, and I never wished, obviously, any harm on him or anyone for that matter, even like people that are completely different, ideologically speaking, than me. And I do believe are pushing an agenda that is counter constructive to societies in varying degrees. Um, yeah, it's just sad. So even with Craig, um, who I believe to be a troll. I don't think that he's coming from like an evil, sinister place when he's having these debates with people on like different from him on so many different views, but especially the worldview, like our worldview, and never open to actually listening to people during debates, which can be frustrating. But again, even with him, like I wish zero harm. I wish him well in life. I wish that he would listen more to what people share during debates. People, putting themselves out there, knowing that it's not mainstream what they're sharing, but doing that in order to give people the opportunity at least to see the opposing side, because it's getting misrepresented all over social media and in academia and even in households, right? There's so much misinformation, and we see that very clearly with just how Charlie Kirk was misrepresented. Someone that's more moderate. I'm talking about regarding political spectrum. Very moderate, very, I would say moderate, not extreme right at all. And also someone who I believe was looking more into, again, the shape of the earth and things like that. And there was a few comments that he had made during some debates, even with Vivek Ramaswamy there. And I've shared this before as well in previous videos that, it gave me a little bit of hope for the fact that there are people that are brilliant and brilliant debaters and respectful. Again, not extreme at all. Like I look at, there's so many people out there that are more, I would say, on the right, which again isn't a bad thing. It's when people are radicalized and more extreme in either um, side of the spectrum where like harm can happen. But I will say it's largely coming from, unfortunately, one side of the political spectrum, or certain ideologies that are being more supported and enabled at the expense of societies, more so. And so people are saying that people on the right should reflect and tone things down in our messaging and our narratives. But just the nerve and the hypocrisy of those statements, and people are getting fired for saying things like this and for celebrating this disgusting murder, this disgusting murder by someone who was radicalized. And a lot of the messaging. So a lot of people on the left, it seems to be, again, I'm not saying it doesn't happen on the right, because it does as well. I keep saying left and right are the same bird. But when it comes to people that follow, that are believers in God, and thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, lie, cheat, etc., etc. These people are people that, especially based on Christian faith, are more, again, tolerant of other people's ideologies, lifestyles, etc. So even Jesus Christ, he spoke to taxpayers, he spoke to prostitutes, he spoke to so many different people with dignity and respect. And his message was to lead by example. Again, this is allegorical as per Galatians 4:24. But the message being that, like, the closer you lead a life that is being represented in, like, the examples in the Bible, again, taken to be based on truths, not facts, and not to be taken literally. For example, like when it says in the Bible about not working on the Sabbath, or to be put to death, there are things within that, within the text that again, I think that we have evolved from, or that at least are not codified into law. That's a very important aspect as well. That's a lot of people where our human rights are protected by laws, where people have obviously progressed and developed, to see that as, so gay rights, being equal to that of heterosexuals, etc. I don't believe it's a sin. Um, I do believe that there's no place for talking about people's sexual preferences or deviant lifestyles within academia, especially teaching children. But again, I'm going on all these tangents. Just faking these attacks, right? So like even Democrat elected politicians and council members and rappers and singers who stage and plan these incidents where they're attacked by right wing supremacists, you know, wearing MAGA hats, all these things, or having a noose on the desk. These were all fabricated. So many things are fabricated. And even in Canada, actually, too, with again, even with Judaism, people within that community as well, they do things against their own facilities. This happened again just a few weeks ago, so I'm not even lying about this. And then they blame it on other people and claim it to be like a hate motivated crime when they're doing it to themselves, right? And so again, people need to pay attention to this stuff. And so there's no people are not getting these actual examples of where people on the right or people that are Christians are extremists or radicals or targeting people who are part of the LGBTQ plus IA community or the Free Palestine community. Like that's like it is very much one-sided what's going on here with the level of intolerance and the hatred, and trans women, men who are even threatening violence to shoot women and children if they dare question them being in the same bathroom. Large men putting on a little bit of lipstick and a dress and thinking that they have the right and like to say that without repercussions. And I mean like jail time, or not jail time, but at least like a warning from cops. Like, yeah, you can't say that. Sorry, the wrong one. I'm going to show that video next, but again, I'm just venting my frustrations.
To women,
like how many videos of are there out there of women saying that, oh, if I saw like a trans woman in here, you know, like we're not calling for violence at all. We're asking that you not go into our safe spaces. Blair White, you're like, there are legitimate trans people within society. Very, very small percentage. Very small percentage. And not people that are abusing a system for their own perverted gains. So there's differences.
Women's locker rooms, women's spaces, because I am a woman, whether you like it or not. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing Fox News can do about it. Ollie London, Ben Shapiro.
I go where I please, and no one can stop me. Ollie London, Ben Shapiro. It's like you're coming at, first of all, a list of men like a man, while also saying, I'm a woman. I'll go wherever I want. Ben Shapiro. I'll go in the bathroom. Huh. I mean, if that's the demeanor you walk in that bathroom with, it's not a far off imagination in my head of why women are reacting with at least a side eye, right? At least a little, whoop. Because I would. Every day, women are doing some level of threat analysis on the men around them. You're a threat. I see you as a threat. And I have balls.
My goodness. Yeah, a large percentage of sexual assaults and violence are committed by men. And people will say that they're largely unreported. But I think it's a significant enough population size. And even with throughout my career, I've been all over the world. I've talked to a lot of different people based on so many, again, different work contracts, like even with the Discovery Channel, with executive protection, with like even the bodybuilding community. Anyways, and then of course my career in the military. And yeah, there's a lot of cases of women also like not reporting sexual assault and crimes, like myself included in that, especially at the beginning of my career, because I didn't want my career to be destroyed or anyways. But that's something I do regret not handling differently, and which is why I speak out on a lot of certain topics, to give people a different perspective that's being highly censored and pushed down. But yeah, I really just wanted to share this video. Brilliant. I've been saying this for a few years, and I could not have ever said it so eloquently and so informed as Charlie Kirk. And I just came across this video within like the last 48 hours, and it's, again, I'll say it's brilliant.
Declaration only refers to God four times.
This.
Declaration only refers to God four times in the Constitution. It doesn't refer to God at all, and it only articulates the structure of government.
So first of all, remember that we were a collection of states and colonies, and you need to read the state constitutions before anything else. 9 out of 13 of the original states required you to be a Bible-believing Christian to serve in government at the time of the founding. All 13 out of 13 required a declaration of faith. 9 out of 13 required you to be a Protestant, except Maryland, which was Catholic, which still required a declaration of faith. Almost every single one of the original state constitutions, Pennsylvania included, they had, I profess Lord and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in the original state constitutions. You remember, we're a collection of states before that. Secondly, 55 out of 56 of the original signers of the Declaration were Bible-believing, church-attending Christians. So common law is inherited from Blackstone, who was Christian. A common law is an outgrowth of the scriptures. So let's go to 3 principles of common law: presumption of innocence, due process, and jury of your peers. All 3 are biblical principles, wrapped into the ultimate biblical principle that you shall not favor justice if you are rich or poor, which is in Leviticus 19, right before the most famous part of Leviticus 19, which is that you should love your neighbor as yourself. But before that is that in the administration of justice, you shall not favor the rich or the poor, which is the idea of blind justice. We get that in the West, which is incorporated also in the New Testament ideal: neither slave nor Greek nor Jew, you're all one in Jesus Christ, which we get the idea of human equality. These are all biblical ideas. They're not Enlightenment ideas, which is they kind of get conflated at the time. But more importantly than that, they say that God was only mentioned 4 times in the Declaration of Independence. Well, that's a big deal. Okay. Laws of nature and nature's God. The last paragraph of the Declaration reads as a prayer. It says, we appeal to the supreme judge of the universe. Who's the judge of the universe? Jesus Christ. It says in Revelation that Jesus will judge the earth on his throne. So in the Declaration, they were praying to Christ our Lord as a prayer very specifically. Thirdly, as I said on the stage yesterday, Deuteronomy was by far the most quoted book, religious or non-religious, in the time of the founding when they were putting together the Constitution. More than John Locke, more than Montesquieu, more than Blackstone. So the book of Deuteronomy, which talked about laws, customs, traditions, it was Moses' farewell address as he's about to say goodbye, say, hey, good luck in Canaan, guys. Here's how you should set up your form of government. But finally, and most importantly, let's look at actually what the founders said. John Adams famously said the Constitution was only written for a moral and religious people. It was wholly inadequate for the people of any other. The body politic of America was so Christian and was so Protestant that our form and structure of government was built for the people that believed in Christ our Lord. One of the reasons we're living through a constitutional crisis is that we no longer have a Christian nation, but we have a Christian form of government, and they're incompatible. So you cannot have liberty if you do not have a Christian population.
I was just blown away just how eloquently he put that. And again, I have so many videos on this where I've talked about how when you remove like Christianity or the or the 10 Commandments, for example, and managing the 7 deadly sins, if you remove that and God again out of our system of governance, then it's always corrupted and corruptible. And so I've said this about communism and socialism, like this works very successfully under atheist regimes where God has been removed from how people live their lives. Just so beautifully said. There's a few other good posts here. Let me see here. No other issue. Still a lot of questions regarding the clothing change. Apparently Tyler Robinson was on the rooftop, changed his clothes, and then changed his clothes back again. And then the weapon itself, just how it was found, didn't appear that he was. I mean, there's a possibility that the barrel could have been in his pant leg, but it looked like there's like multiple videos that could be AI generated or from like another period, but where like his knees are bent and things like that as well. And so like the length of the barrel, like how would that happen without at least seeing some partial visibility of the barrel itself? And then the other parts are saying we're in the backpack. But again, there's there's just still things that are just they just don't make sense at this point. Okay, so I like this. Emotions neither prove nor disprove facts. There was a time when any rational adult understood this, but years of dumbed down education and emphasis on how people feel have left too many people unable to see through this media gimmick. And that's from Thomas Sowell, who a genius. I've shared some of his clips of his some of the things that he has said. He is so smart. I have his books. He has a few books.
Speaking of this tragedy, is this a moment for your party to reflect on political violence? Is it a moment for us to think about the responsibility of our political leaders and their voices and what it does to the masses as they get lost in misinformation or disinformation?
Yeah, sure. Let's reflect on dangerous rhetoric, shall we?
Into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
You said over the weekend, referring to it, there's a direct parallel to a big rally that happened in the mid-1930s at Madison Square Garden.
Well,
you were comparing that rally to a Nazi rally?
Look, I'm comparing it to the hate that came out of this, and I think they confirmed that.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core.
And him and shut down the city! We are at war!
We're in a war right now.
We are at war.
So you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
And that's why the gloves are off.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
And yes, there are many threats to democracy. See it with these extreme candidates.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
But you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
What the American public want is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. This is an actual fight.
You know, this is literally call to arms.
The MAGA movement is a threat.
But Michelle says that, when they go low, we go high.
No. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high.
When they go low, we kick them.
We take them to the mud and choke them out.
And make sure that they stay down. And you know what? Kick them when they're down because they deserve it.
Get up in the face of some Congress people.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your...
We have to fight this in the streets.
We're going to fight it in the streets. It's time to step out of your comfort zone and step out into the streets.
To our Republican colleagues, if you do not see the light, we will bring the fire. Resist! You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Who's the fascist? Charlie Kirk, who was open to debate and was respectful and tolerant and not a racist, not a misogynist, not a sexist. People like this don't do their lazy, ignorant, low IQ. People call them evil and things like that. Again, like we have our own interpretations of what good and evil is. Angels and demons, all that stuff. I think I was going to go on a tangent, but I'll keep this going. Someone who was a believer in God and condemned violence gets murdered. And there's people that are saying that they weren't feeling this, that were all over mainstream media, that were all over social media, radicalizing people. Yeah. They called him a Nazi fascist because they wanted someone to kill him. That's what a lot of people are saying. Charlie Kirk wasn't a Nazi. Charlie Kirk was not a fascist. There were so many people there were so many women and people of color that stood out and spoke out, telling people like how he impacted their lives, and hundreds of black men, conservative men, how he gave them opportunities to even go to the White House. Dave Rubin, he is a homosexual and he was a close friend. They broke bread many times, like I've said before. Candace Owens, a black female. They were close friends. She's showing so many different videos and stories and posts of them throughout the years. He built her career and developed her, evolved her debating skills. You know, you could just see the difference in so many different people, how he evolved people's debating skills because he was so talented and good that he challenged people. He challenged people, regardless of if you agreed with him or not. You had to be strong within your debate points. And people who are weak of character or weak of mind, who would get on that stage, or not that stage, but during these debates, would go in line, front of the line, and they would just be so ignorant or rude or intolerant and screaming and yelling. You see so much of that. There were some really good debates, honestly, and there were some very good points made by people at the college as well, and he shared those videos as well. And he was coming around regarding Israel and crimes against humanity and the impact that AIPAC and other lobbyists and donors within the US, just like how much of an impact there is on what's going on, for example, within the Middle East, and actual genocides and crimes against humanity that are happening in Palestine. Like, he was talking more and more about that and platformed people and was open to debate regarding what's actually going on. And he started again to question more and more. And again, I'm going to reiterate that I've said this before. There are people that, whether they know it or not, they're pushing propaganda that is harmful to people, including people within the US. And that was one of my prime examples that I was talking about. And how all this involvement, again, it's largely assisting just the already elite class that he's talking about, the billionaire class that he's talked about also having a grip on implementing bills or policies where there would be like no access to people that make over $100 billion or a certain amount of money to be able to invest in real estate, in residential real estate, etc. Because again, that's also something that's inflating the housing market for so many different reasons. And so, like, not allowing people that are exploiting capitalism at the expense of society. And anyways, I'm going on all these rants, but he never called for violence. And there's so many people. So even with that, right, like South Park, I just don't understand. I do understand because, again, Charlie Kirk was very, very smart and influential, and he had a lot of support. And he had a lot of support from donors, again, where people were questioning that support, right? Where does his loyalty lie? But I do believe that his loyalty always lied with God first, family, etc., and then the U.S. I do believe that. People think I'm naive to say that. There are people that are right-wing influencers that are saying that he was a puppet, etc. I don't. Again, I could be wrong. I don't buy any of that. But again, I did listen to a lot of his debates and podcasts, and he even did a podcast, or was like in the same community as Andreas Zertis, who a few years ago, like, I did a podcast with him, and so again, like, just like not too far removed, like that the degree of separation, and then being in the same kind of like network. To have the opportunity to have an audience with people like Alex Jones. And I know multiple people that have been on InfoWars, and I know because of some things that I've called out or questioned regarding Alex Jones, like I can see why he wouldn't want me to be on his show. But I do have a lot of information and content I would like to get out there, and I'm not getting the support like other people are getting because I'm not, I would argue, like, because I know the reality of the world more than a lot of people, arguably, with like 20 plus years of experience within the community. And it's still, again, on a daily basis doing research on so many different topics. And so I would be value added, but again, it's just, there's division within our community as well, but it's just like, it's not platforming or supporting it. It's not, murder, which is disgusting. Where was it going with all this stuff?
You're not going to have a good time. You may not finish.
But yeah, so again, I'm just going to push again with the South Park. It's obviously a cartoon, political satire involved in it, but when you already have fuel on the fire and you're adding more fuel on the fire, I'm saying that people are becoming more and more radical. There's a lot more misinformation being spread, and fueling division. That there was going to be a lot more domestic terrorism going on this year. And so even if there wasn't a direct hit on Charlie Kirk, unfortunately for how the media and how academia, because again, this guy was allegedly radicalized by teachers and by students and by people within like certain like cults, groups like the furry communities and anyways, and certain Discord pages. But anyways, I don't want to cause too much controversy with things other than to say that people were getting radicalized, and this was becoming more and more mainstream. So it was going to escalate more and more. And this is stuff that people have been warning people about. It's so late in the game for people to talk about toning things down on the left, like talking to the right about this. Like, you sound so ignorant. You sound so ignorant as to your complacency and your, not even complacency, that as well, but your involvement in radicalizing so many people. And people on the left are, and radical people are so overrepresented within academia. And I could say that for myself as well with Ottawa University and Carleton University. I went back for another degree, science degree. But with that, I was also involved with like advanced psychology courses and other courses I had to take. And woke professors, and because I was not vaccinated, I couldn't even enter the campus to have debate or open Discord. They wouldn't answer their phones, they wouldn't answer their emails, or it was just very much condescending, or a wellness check call. Absolutely disgusting. This is how unhinged and intolerant and insufferable these people are. If you don't agree with them, you are a fascist or a Nazi, or you're a problem. Mentally unwell. Like, it just, again, like, I just wish people would actually listen to what he was saying fully, not cherry pick like certain parts of an argument or a paragraph he's stating. The example with empathy versus sympathy. Anyway. Yeah. So a lot of people are getting fired, and rightfully so. And that's why I believe in free speech still, because people that are celebrating this or saying was justified or misrepresenting or misquoting him, you're just showing just how ignorant you are, and how, like, and you're also making people feel unsafe, because if you're celebrating that, like, that horrible act, when so many people agreed with him, especially on his faith and so many other points, then, like, people are now thinking, like, would you also celebrate or want us to die? Like, is this COVID all over again, where, like, people were calling for the unvaccinated people to be murdered, put in concentration camps, families removed away from them, like their children? If you look at the polls too, it was largely Democrats and liberals that were in support of that versus conservatives and Republicans. Not saying that they don't exist. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, like, if you look at the stats, the actual objective data, you'll see where more of the intolerance and the violence and the deviancy and the societal destruction, where it's actually coming from the most. And I've talked about MAGA as well, and QAnon being just like Operation Trust from the Soviet era, propaganda, where people within government have infiltrated, and they're radicalizing people, thinking that they're helping in a lot of cases. And this is what I was saying with Charlie Kirk as well. Like I didn't have I have called so many different people over the last few years. I'm talking about production teams, like producers and you name it, in order to try to get some sponsorships or donations in order to build my business, and in order to get more of, like, my information or my content out there, especially regarding, again, the earth and things like that, and international events, and again, because it was always a no. It's always a no. I've tried to do collabs with so many different media influencers, like Eddie Bravo. Like, we've communicated via DM, and Sean Hibler as well. And he was going to do a podcast with me, but that fell through because he was extremely busy. And countless others as well. And like, even Austin Whitsitt, like, he did agree at one point to do a podcast with me. I wanted to make sure that I had a good internet connection, because my internet connection was poor. So I changed to Starlink. I didn't want to, but I did. So now my internet's good. And but yeah, so anyways, these opportunities to debate people, I think, like, I want to reapproach Nick Fuentes. I would love to do a podcast with him. Let's see here. Yeah, Candace Owens as well. Speaking of her, she's calling out a lot of propaganda that's being pushed from people like Netanyahu, who I think is an actual criminal who should be in jail. That's not an exaggeration. I've given proof countless times. He even lied to Congress in 2002 about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, got us into friggin' wars in the Middle East that killed a lot of people, and people like him profiting. And he's put a lot of money, like multi-million dollars, $45 million or more. That's just in the U.S. for campaigns for social media contracts to paint him in a more humane light, just based on all the negative news that's finally coming out, especially within Europe, recently recognizing Palestine as a state. Very recently, within the last few days. And Netanyahu obviously not liking that, and then also going, like, disgustingly enough, like he's either in no, he's invited to this bike tour or something like that in Montreal, and again they're trying to like push him as being some kind of like a good guy, and there's millions and millions of dollars being pushed all over the world, targeting like mainstream media outlets in order to sway the audience, and it's not going to work. He's a war criminal. He needs to be in jail. Where's the Epstein Black Book list? So yeah, even people that are like lying under oath about January 6th. I've talked about this. Harry Dunn, David Lazarus, Capitol Police, fueling so much hatred and division, and heavier penalties for people that were peacefully protesting January 6th. So even role players and crisis actors that were there, agitators, instigators, did they know that there were other people there that were counter-protesting, and or people within government that were instigating and agitating and breaking windows and glass and fake arrests and things like that were making things worse, and that we're going to paint them in a certain way afterwards? But yeah, anyways, people need to really look into so many different events. 9/11. I'm all over the place. But yeah, I think Charlie was getting there with that. And so, what a waste.
Yes, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
Speaking of this tragedy, is this a moment for your party to reflect on political violence? Is it a moment for us to...
Yeah, so this is from Blair White. This is what I wanted to say. They don't kill you because you're a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you. I did like that quote. And we're talking about radical extremist psychopaths here.
This is the moment where I'm
peaceful.
So I am told that as a state representative, this is the moment where I'm
So this is from Nick Freitas.
Supposed to express my heartfelt condolences and then stand in solidarity with those on the other side of the aisle as we condemn political violence and stand unified as one people. But we aren't one people, are we? The truth is we haven't been for some time now, and there is really no point in pretending anymore if there ever was. We are two very different peoples. We may occupy the same piece of geography, but that is where the similarities seem to abruptly end. I convinced myself for a long time that whenever the left called me a racist, a bigot, a sexist, a fascist, a threat to democracy, for even the most innocent of disagreements, that it was simply hyperbolic rhetoric done for effect. And now the effect is a widow and 2 orphaned children because the left couldn't bear the thought of a peaceful man debating them and winning. I don't think they realize it yet, but murdering Charlie is going to be remembered as the day where we finally woke up to what this fight really is. It is not a civil dispute among fellow countrymen. It's a war between diametrically opposed worldviews which cannot peacefully coexist with one another. One side will win and one side will lose. Charlie tried to win that fight through argumentation, through discussion, through peaceful resolution of differences, and the other side murdered him. not because he was extreme or inciting violence or any other hyperbolic slur they hurled at him. They murdered him because he was effective, because he was unafraid, because he inspired others and made them feel like they had a voice, that they were not alone. And he did it at the very institutions which have fomented so much hatred toward conservatives. I don't want to stand in solidarity with the other side of the aisle. I want to defeat you. I want to defeat the godless ideology that kills babies in the womb, sterilizes confused children, turns our cities into cesspools of degeneracy and lawlessness, and that murdered Charlie Kirk. Social media is aflame right now with leftist celebration of Charlie's death. I wonder if any among them understand what has just happened. If there is a Yamamoto somewhere in their midst warning that all they have done is awoken a sleeping giant. I doubt it. I think they gave up such introspection and self-awareness long ago. I don't know exactly what will happen next. I just know that it won't be the same as what has happened in the past. There will be thoughts and prayers. Charlie would have wanted prayers, not for himself, but for those left behind and for the country that he loved. But then there will be a reckoning. My Christian faith requires me to love my enemies and pray for those who curse me. It does not require me to stand idly by in the midst of savagery and barbarism, quite the opposite. So every time I feel tired, every time I feel discouraged or overwhelmed, I am going to watch the video of a good man being murdered in Utah. I will force myself to watch it, and then I will return to the work of destroying the evil ideology responsible for that and so much more. Rest with God, Charlie. Your fight is over. Ours is just beginning.
And this person, this representative is...
Said I am told that as a...
So...
peaceful activism.
So I'm going to ask a very respectful question, as respectfully as I can. What does what they do in their private life concern you so much that you have to go up in front of a crowd? And
it is against God. That is
so.
why.
Let me ask
Are
you
you
a question.
Christian or not?
Do we live in a theocracy? Yes or no? No. Do we live in a theocracy?
You said you're a Christian.
I am a Christian. And do you know what? And guess what? I will say this. Part of being a Christian is appropriately interpreting what the theological says for the individual, but also means to be long-suffering and patient and loving and kind. Jesus Christ talked to all people. Jesus Christ went and did his ministry through Judea and Samaria, and he had dinner with tax collectors, and he had dinner with prostitutes, and he did his ministry in every part of the Mediterranean. What it means to be a Christian, my friend, is to be open-minded but firm in your beliefs so you can have that belief. But if you say there's something inherently wrong with communicating or associating just because they make different personal decisions than you, then you, sir, are not a conservative. Thanks for being here tonight.
And you, sir, are not a conservative. Like, more videos like this of what Charlie Kirk actually was saying need to be circulated, because people, again, are cherry-picking or lying. And again, the more you debate or show proof, so proof and receipts to back up claims, like I'm saying that Charlie Kirk was not a sexist, misogynist, racist, Nazi fascist. And he had his own interpretation of how to live through scripture. And he was open to debating and educating people on the other side.
We are.
Based on his convictions. Not in judgment. I really liked what Nick Fuentes had to say about this.
We are the good side. And what makes us good is that we have Christ. What makes Christianity and Christ so different from the other religions is that our religion is based on the bearing of suffering for the sake of even those that persecute us, an overflowing of love, an overflowing of self-giving love, so much of it, it cannot be contained, an unconditional, absolute standard of love for all of God's children, even those that are misguided, even those that persecute us, even the most heinous among us. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us good. You think you're good? You're not. You are not good. I am not good. You are a man. I am a man. You are a sinner. I am a sinner. We cannot save ourselves. We cannot save this world. God can save us. God can save the world. And God saves us, and God saves the world by drawing all of us up onto the cross with him. And we join not just in his glory, but in his suffering. Real suffering, not imaginary, not a nice story, real suffering, real death, real destruction, real misery. We bear a cross like Christ bears a cross, like his disciples, like the martyrs, like the saints bear a cross. And you better get comfortable up there. Drink up. You bear that cross not for your kin, not for yourself, not for your children, which are an extension of yourself. You bear that cross and that suffering. You drink from that chalice for your enemies, for those that persecute you, for those that hate you, for the sake of Christ. That doesn't mean we let them hurt us. It doesn't mean we let them take over our country, but it does mean that we do not lower ourselves to their level. It does mean that we do not resort to our own powers, our own machinations, our own plans, our own pride with vengeance, with retaliation. Vengeance belongs to God. God is both merciful and just. And no one can say they have faith in God if they do not have faith in God's perfect justice, which we cannot understand, which is hard to accept, sometimes impossible. But that's what it is to be a Christian. That's what it was like to be the first Christians, to watch God himself nailed to a cross for the sake of everyone. You cannot tell me you have faith in God if you don't have faith that all of those people that seek to hurt us will ultimately meet their divinely appointed justice at God's hands, but not our own. Those lives are not ours to take. We are the good side.
So Nick and I have differing interpretations of the Bible. I still believe that when I look at different ideologies and cultures and religions and how they're codified in the laws, I subscribe more to the Christian religion. I've said this again for years. I wore a cross for years. I can't find it. It's been a while. I'm still looking, going through this big move. And anyways, but I believe that Jesus Christ is a representation or a symbolic representation of the sun's travel path through the zodiacal belt, the 12 astrological signs, just like Mithras, Dionysus, Horus, Apollo, Krishna, etc. And but I do believe that there's a God or a creator that created this cosmos. Absolutely, a higher level being that I would not even be able to begin to be able to understand. And the 10 Commandments and like the 7 deadly sins, the lessons to learn from that. I think that these are all lessons, rules that societies historically have thrived within by abiding by. Nothing's perfect, but and so even with the tribes of Jacob or Israel, Jacob was renamed Israel twice in the Bible, Judaism and the Christian Bible. And the 12 tribes of Jacob or Israel, Isis Ra'el, taken from Egypt, Canaanite belief systems prior to, again, more evolved or like different interpretations of the creation story. But again, with the 12, again, the connection with 12 being the sun's travel path within the zodiacal belt and the moon's travel path within the zodiacal belt. So Israel, Isis, Ra'el, Isis being the moon goddess, rather, Ra being a sun god, El being a creator god, depending on which interpretation of the creation story you're following. And a lot of wars and a lot of division because of religions that I think are, again, just very interesting and incompatible as well. So Sharia law, for example, I believe to be incompatible with our religious systems codified into our laws. I like the way that Charlie Kirk had explained that better.
We are.
Nope, that was it. All right. I was going to show, because I was going to say that Jaron, it was a big disappointment when he left the the truther community and switch sides, whatever you want to call it. But again, I wish him I wish him well. I don't wish any negativity, despite the fact that he's trolling people. And I think he's coming from not an evil place at all. I think he's coming from a good place. And I think for him, like he, you know, maybe he'll come around. I don't know, like, because he is a really smart human being. And I think if there was, strong enough arguments that he would be able to like actually process at this point and just think through, like maybe there would still be hope. So a lot of people within the flat Earth community, I'm just gonna say it again. I think that this is a cosmos, an electromagnetic reality that's being projected on a flat plane of inertia where we experience our existence, and that the toroidal fields contain this environment. Anyway, what was I gonna say about that? But yeah, we were friends, and I haven't talked to him in a long time. But we did talk post TFE. And I said I did believe that he did travel, with Austin to what he thought was Antarctica, etc., the South Pole, and that I don't think he's a liar in certain things. I think he has been, yeah. So again, like I mean, he has said things that are untrue, but yeah, allow people to have the ability, to, like the freedom to debate, regardless of how you feel about it. I'm sorry, I'm just debating on showing another video or ending it and doing another video. Slow morning, yeah. So I'm gonna end it right now, and then I'm gonna share a video separate to this, because again, I'd like to keep this more about Charlie Kirk. See if I have any other points first before. Yeah, so if you're gonna call people Nazi, fascists, etc., or traitors or treasonous or criminals, show receipts, do your research, back it up, or prepare to be fired. So anyways, on that note, I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.